The beginning of everything. I used to believe I had control over my life, over loneliness, heartbreak, even my desires. I thought I could manage it all. But then, that day came when I realized just how much had slipped through my fingers. It's a lesson that still lingers, one that started a series of the most complicated, even forbidden moments of my life. As I tell you this story, my heart races and my breath quickens, because this isn't just a confession, it's a journey of how a woman can lose herself in a whirlwind of emotions, loneliness, passion, and everything in between. Let me take you back. I'm 53 years old, and the number often surprises people when they hear it. 10 years ago, my life changed forever when I divorced Edgar. The reason? He cheated on me. To this day, no one really understands why he did it, not even me. But that betrayal marked the end of a chapter I didn't know would never truly close. I've always been someone who took pride in my appearance, a well-groomed, elegant woman who loved the attention of others. I enjoyed feeling special, but these last 10 years of solitude have created a void inside me. No matter how strong I appear, the silence at night fills me with emptiness. But that morning was different. I had plans with my friend Emma. Like me, she's also divorced, and like me, she's been trying to navigate life after a separation. We met for coffee at our usual spot, a cozy little cafe that had become our refuge. I dressed with intention that morning, choosing a short skirt that showed off my legs, paired with a soft light blouse. I looked at myself in the mirror before I left. "You're still attractive," I whispered to my reflection. It was a truth I often needed to remind myself of. When I met Emma, we fell into the same familiar conversation, old memories, disappointments, and the deafening silence that fills our homes. But that day, someone else caught my attention. Through the cafe window, my eyes landed on a familiar face. It was my nephew, Carlos. He's 24, full of energy, and always cheerful. Although we don't see each other often, Carlos has always been kind and affectionate toward me. But that day, it wasn't just Carlos who caught my eye. Standing next to him was a man I'd never met before. A tall, broad-shouldered, striking figure whose presence made it hard to look away. His name was Filipe. At 27, he was just a few years younger than Carlos, but the way he carried himself, the way he moved, left a lasting impression on me. When our eyes briefly met, my heart skipped a beat. I didn't want to admit it to myself, but something inside me stirred. I couldn't help it. Carlos came over to greet me, and in his usual carefree manner he said, "Aunt Mia, if you need anything, just call me." His words made me smile, but they didn't quite quiet the restlessness I felt, the strange pull I couldn't shake from Felipe's gaze. There was something more in the way he looked at me, something deep, but I didn't have the courage to dwell on it. When I got home later, I was met with a large box at my door. It was the new TV and sound system I had ordered online. The box was massive, and I knew I'd need help setting it up. At first I was disappointed at the thought of struggling alone, but then I remembered Carlos's words. "Call me if you need anything." I didn't hesitate. I dialed Carlos's number, and when he picked up, I was relieved to learn that Filipe was with him. "We'll come together," Carlos said, and that simple offer made a strange wave of excitement rush over me. If I was being honest, I was eager to see Filipe again. The truth was undeniable. I wanted to see him again. When the doorbell rang, my heart was already pounding. Carlos entered, looking as laid back as ever, but Felipe's presence instantly changed the mood. His gaze met mine the moment he stepped through the door, and the air around us thickened with tension. I didn't know what it was, but there was something undeniable between us, something magnetic. As they worked together setting up the TV, I found myself watching Filipe. His focus was intense, his movements deliberate. Every time our eyes met, I felt an electric current between us. It wasn't just casual glances. There was a depth to his gaze that sent shivers down my spine. I was still wearing my skirt and blouse from earlier, and with every passing moment I became more aware of my outfit, of how Filipe's eyes lingered on me. It was a strange feeling, one I didn't know how to interpret. When Filipe handed me a cable, our hands brushed, and for a second it felt like the world stopped. We both pulled back quickly, but the spark lingered in the air between us. "Sorry, that wasn't intentional," Filipe said. His voice calm, but his smile hinted at something more. My pulse quickened. I thanked both of them for their help, and in a small attempt to lighten the moment, I said, "Once it's all set up, I'm inviting you both over for a movie night." Carlos immediately grinned, always eager for a good time, but Filipe only nodded, his smile barely there, yet his eyes never left me. There was warmth in them, an unspoken understanding. "I'll make some coffee for you both," I offered, heading to the kitchen. As the coffee brewed, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned and found Filipe standing in the doorway, leaning against the frame, arms casually crossed. Even though he hadn't fully stepped into the room, his presence dominated the space. "I just wanted to thank you," he said, his voice soft yet full of intention. "No need to thank me," I replied with a small smile, though inside my heart was racing. I could feel his gaze linger on me, scanning my every move, making me feel more vulnerable than I had in years. As I poured the coffee, the conversation flowed easily between us, but beneath it all, there was a deeper tension, a sense that something more was on the horizon. Filipe's words seemed to carry weight. "Loneliness isn't always a bad thing," he said, his gaze steady, "but sometimes, when you have someone to share it with, everything feels more meaningful." The air between us thickened, and for a brief moment I felt myself drawn to him. The pull was undeniable, but I wasn't sure what to do with it. Later, after Carlos and Filipe had finished setting up the system, Filipe left a note and a flower on the table. It was simple, yet meaningful. The note read, "If you ever need anything, you can call me." His phone number was neatly written beneath. That night, as I sat with my phone in hand, I stared at the note. Should I reach out to him? The temptation was overwhelming, and in a moment of weakness, I sent him a message. "Thank you for the flower. It was thoughtful. If you're free, would you like to join me for coffee or wine while we test out the system?" His reply came almost instantly. "That's a wonderful idea, Mia. I'm bringing a bottle of wine over." When Filipe arrived later, the energy between us was electric. The evening was filled with conversations, laughter, and an undeniable connection that only seemed to grow stronger with each passing minute. Filipe leaned closer, his voice low and confident. "I didn't come here just to try the wine. I want to get to know you better." And that was it, the moment everything changed. If you've made it this far, I know you're probably feeling just as drawn into this story as I am. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and leave a comment about what you think, because this journey is just beginning. Stay tuned, there's so much more to come.